I really hope that people understand that the buses serve so many aspects of our city, whether it's the schools, whether it's the colleges, whether it's jobs, businesses, people with disabilities. To cut any kind of services at this point, when we're already very thin on services in Green Bay regarding transit, it would be a catastrophe. It would be horrible to see that happen to our city.
I'm using the bus actually to go to work. So, without the bus line, I feel that, it will leave the city of Green Bay in jeopardy.
That wouldn't be too good for the economy. And people would be hurting really bad.
I use the bus to go to school, to go home, to friends' houses.
My main form of transportation, because I don't drive. I cannot afford to drive. And it's my only way to get to my credit union and to any shopping, doctor's appointments, anything.
Local, county, and city leaders are talking about how this budget will affect their own budgets. Now, Green Bay Mayor Jim Schmidt says the governor's plan would mean $2.8 million less for the city. There would be 10% less money in transportation aid, and Green Bay.
Public transit is a very great benefit to our local communities. And we need to pay attention to the budget cuts that are forthcoming and the effects that it will have on people in our community, especially the most vulnerable populations who are seeking access to be able to get to their work, to be able to get medical services, to be able to move about in the community, to spend their hard-earned dollars within the community.
I've been using the Green Bay transit system for 22 years since I moved to Green Bay. It means my ability to be independent and get myself to and from work and actually hold down a job. I also use it for shopping. I don't drive. I have a vision impairment that does not allow me to drive. It's very vital to me. It scares me because then I'm going to have to try to find a ride share and it'll cost me more money than the $35 for my monthly bus pass, and it won't be as convenient. In fact, my boss adjusts my schedule around the transit system because of how the buses run.
For those not directly on the transit system, Medivans has been a big part, especially for people who have difficulty getting on and off a bus. With the assistance of Medivan, they're also able to come to work and other activities that we have.
I come here to Aspiro. I've been taking the bus for 31 years. It was 1981. I would feel awful if that went in, if the buses weren't going. It's important because I don't need help.
You have to keep the transit system on schedule because the business does not revolve around the bus schedule. The bus schedule revolves around the business. Without that link or lifeline through Green Bay Transit, it would not be a good thing. There'd be a lot of people that would be suffering because they'd be stuck at home.
Okay, we just got out of school and I don't have that much homework, so we're going to the mall. And we have to take the bus there because we don't have a ride, of course. Like usual. Of course. Especially just on Saturdays and Sundays, if you want to just ever hang out with your friends. It's like, what are you supposed to do? Just wait until your parents can give you a ride? What if they have, like my parents have busy jobs and a lot of times they can't give us a ride because maybe they're at a meeting or something. So it's like, what are you supposed to do without a bus?
My mom's pretty secure about it. She doesn't really mind as long as I'm with a friend, because then she knows like I'm okay.
Yeah.
And she'd rather have me take the bus because then she doesn't have to drive us.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of people use them. She uses them to get to school. We use them both to go to have fun with our friends. A lot of people's parents I know use them to get to their jobs. So it's really important.
And I even think we need more buses because on a bus it's so packed, and like it'd be a lot easier if we had more buses. And if you cut them, like no one's gonna be able to get to school on time, and it's gonna cause
a lot of problems. And it's like, what are the parents supposed to do if they really can't give you a ride? They're not gonna like quit their job just so they can give their kids a ride every morning. Like, what are your kids supposed to do? It's really fun to go hang out with friends at the mall.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's why we take the bus there. I need the bus to get places because otherwise I have to wait for the ride or just not do anything. And half the time I can't do anything unless I would have a bus.
We've been trained to provide reliable service, secure service, safe service to the people. Get a pencil and do some numbers. You don't know how much money you're going to be saving. You know how much stress you're going to be putting away. And we need our governments to think the way we do, to look at the importance of this service in the city. We don't have any service late Saturday and all day Sunday and the gaps during the week because on these times people cannot use the transportation to go to church, to go to the park, and well, we all lose.
There used to be a bus stop right by my house. They took that away 2 years ago. It was there for like 18 years. Then they said there was too many stops. Bus drivers are already talking about cutting services to a third if this bill goes through. It's like it's been on my mind worrying about losing the transit for a year now. If I don't have the bus system, I don't have my freedom to come and go as I please without having to call somebody and say, can you give me a ride here? I really need to go here. I can just hop on that bus and I can get there without asking somebody or begging somebody or waiting for them to come pick me up. It makes me feel like I'm a part of something, that I'm not just a person that people can push around or people can walk over.
I've noticed the cutbacks in services on Wednesday nights. I started teaching here 10 years ago and could get on a bus at, after on a Wednesday night after a certain hour. It cuts off. When I get to the transportation center, there are no connections, and I can only imagine somebody working shift work having to deal with this problem, and I don't know how they do it. So I think that's a huge concern. Unfortunately, I think there's a certain stigma to public transportation. And people just associate with poor people or minority people, and they don't want to associate with people like that. I am very concerned that our society is increasingly moving away from the idea of a common good, and I think public transportation is an integral part of that. It is a lifeline to a lot of people. Some of the proposed cuts in public transportation would be disasters for a lot of people who take public transportation. To come to the university, we come to Curative, we go past the Brown County Mental Health Facility, we also go past the Brown County Jail, and there are many people for whom the bus is the only way to get to these locations. I could share a story with you. I walk from my home to the transportation center, as I said, and it takes me about 15 minutes, I time it. And I have family obligations, and so sometimes I'm running a little late. And you can see me, over the last 10 years, you'll see me running to catch the bus. And sometimes I have to run pretty far, and these drivers wait for me. If there's one bus coming by, they radio to the other person that whatever they say about me, I don't know, the professor's running, running to catch the bus, and please hold and wait for it.
I work at the volunteer center, and I do special events and public relations for the Volunteer Center, promoting volunteerism and helping people understand how important it is for them and for their community. If the bus wasn't available, on a personal level, very simply, I wouldn't be able to earn a living and do what I need to do for my family and to participate as a worker just the way everybody else needs to participate. Every morning I get out of bed and get ready for work just the way everybody else does, and then I walk about 4 blocks, catch the bus, and it takes me about an hour to get to work on the bus, and then I start my working day. If there were less bus service, it would certainly affect my ability to do my job, not only in getting to work, but I move all throughout the community, usually on the bus, to get done what I need to get done. So it's certainly going to affect my ability to do what I think is a pretty important job for the community. And it's going to impact the people who use the bus, who use the bus for volunteering. They want to serve, they need a bus that will help them get to their volunteer needs. I am grateful for the bus service we have. I think it could certainly be better. I think a community of our size can do more than what we're doing right now. Right now, if I need to, I can only get to my job once an hour. If I miss that bus, it's another hour before I can catch it again. So if I'm very conscious of catching that bus, because if I miss it, I'm delayed. But also the fact that there's no service on Sundays. If I have to catch the last bus at 8 o'clock in order to get home at all at night. And I'm very fortunate in that my job typically runs from about 8 till 5. But for people who work at night, they don't have an option to get them to that 11 to 7 job, or maybe getting home from a 3 to 11 job. It's just not there. We can do better than what we're doing now.
As elected officials, we should be able to tell the public, how does the bus system affect our local economy? And I think if people realized how many jobs were dependent on the transit system and how many people are dependent on it to get to school for their education so that they can have a good paying job in the future. And if people realized that the transit system has actually attracted tens of millions of dollars worth of development inside the city of Green Bay, that'd be going a long way to showing, yes, this is a really good thing to have for a city. If we had cuts in service, those costs would just be transferred to other locations. They'd be transferred to the school district, which of course is taxpayer funded as well. They'd be transferred to individuals who may be on fixed incomes. I mean, who wants to be the person to tell an old lady on a fixed income, hey, we're cutting your paratransit? Sorry, find another way to get to your appointments, find another way to get the things done that you need to get done. I mean, these are people in our community that they're not asking for much. They're asking for a way to get around so they can live their lives. And these are people who have, been part of our community for decades, and we owe it to them to keep these systems intact. We're receiving less from the state, we'll be receiving less from the federal government, but as a city, we won't be allowed to raise those revenues to pay for the services. So that's what frightens me the most. We're putting this budget on the backs of our poorest people, we're putting it on the backs of our disabled people, we're putting it on the backs of our elderly people, we're putting it on the backs of the working poor.
I use the public transportation in Green Bay to go to work. That's my means of getting to work and getting back home. I use it to go to the doctor to get things done, to get my medication, and to make my appointments all over the city of Green Bay. And if I didn't have public transportation, I wouldn't be able to get to a lot of those places. The bus system is the safest transportation for seniors in this city, because if somebody gets sick on the bus driver know what to do. They're good for people with disabilities, and we need this. People need to get around. They need to get to the doctor. They need to get to their hospital appointments. The elderly need to get to the drugstore to pick up their medications and everything. And they need to get around so they won't be stuck at home. Everybody don't own a vehicle. And it costs too much money to run a vehicle, and people's incomes are not that high, to pay all that money at the end of the year, insurance and everything else, and gasoline prices the way they are now. And then what's gonna happen, you know? You got to get food stamps, you got to go on welfare, and all this other stuff. And you know, that's a burden on the taxpayers. Gas prices is gonna skyrocket. They're gonna go to $4 or $5 a gallon, and then people gonna see, that they're gonna need the bus. The bus is gonna be necessary for every household. A lot of people are short-sighted. They don't look at all the facts.